Okay, welcome everybody to Town of Huntsville Council. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. And with that, Councillor Cluche, would you mind reading the land acknowledgement statement, please?
Yes, thank you. I would respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishbeg under the terms of the Robinson-Huron Treaty Number 61 of 1850 and the Williams Treaty of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take actions towards real truth and reconciliation in support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, and harmony for future generations.
Thank you very much for that. We're moving right along. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? I understand Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Alcock. I'll be declaring a pecuniary interest on agenda item 11.3, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality. That's Confidential Corp 2024-62 land, and that's for the pecuniary interest is for business, and it's for business reasons due to an ongoing business relationship.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so noted. So now we get to move into the really fun part of what we do around this table, and that is we do have some invited guests who are with us from the Huntsville High School, the Nordic Ski Junior Girls team. They won gold in the team sprint relays in Sudbury at OFSA Nordic Championship. Amazing. And Ellie Foxcroft raced individually. And Emily Perry won gold in the OFSA Junior Girls Distance event as well. So we have some really fancy certificates that we have to hand out because we like to do that. And we also love recognizing wonderful contributions such as yours in the community. And so it's really fun for us to be able to do that. So thank you. Before I start, what we will do is Deputy Mayor Armour will read out your names. And I understand that there were 5 in total, but we have 3 of you with us tonight. So we'll get the other 2 certificates to the other 2 later. So I will go to the front along with Councillor Schumacher, who is chair of our Community Services Committee. And we'd like to hand you the certificates. Just going to make sure. Emily and okay.
Thank you, Your Worship, and congratulations. We want to take some pictures, so don't run them back and forth. So I'm going to call you up individually at first. So we're going to start off with Emily Perry. Bronlyn Strickland. Hope I got that right. Yep. And Petra Nichols. I think we should probably get a group photo.
All right, so you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting because it's really, this was the highlight. You being here was definitely the highlight. It basically goes down like this after that. We're not rushing you out either. It's, okay. Congratulations. Okay, so moving along to council minutes, I have a motion moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Clark. Be it resolved that the following council meeting minutes be adopted as printed and circulated. The regular meeting, February 24th, 2025, and the planning meeting, March 12th, 2025. Questions, comments, seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. All right, and moving to reports. For information, meeting minutes, starting with the Huntsville Public Library Board. We do have minutes from January 17th, 2025. Councillor Cluche, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, they're issued.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions with respect to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, we'll move right along to 6.1.2, the Downtown Huntsville BIA, 2 sets, January 9th, 2025, February 13th, 2025. Councillor Renwick, would you like to speak to these?
Thank you, Your Worship. And no, I have nothing to add. The minutes are for your information. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have to say the minutes are really thorough. I went through a whole bunch of them, both BIA and the Chamber and HMATA, and there's a lot going on in our community. It's worth a read. So I'll move to 6.1.3, Huntsville Lake Bay's Chamber of Commerce, February 14th. Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Your Worship. As well, just minutes for your information, but just to bring, just to call your attention to one item that was in the minutes, and that is they are doing their strategic plan, and it is laid out actually in the minutes. So if you have a moment to take a look, and I believe the Executive Director, Hallie Clover, is coming on Wednesday to speak to us about the initiatives of the chamber, so that would be good to hear. And they did have their AGM last Wednesday after our long planning meeting, so it was an extra long day, but it was well worth it. So, but for your information only.
Thank you for that. I think there's one other item that I just thought it was worth mentioning. They also worked jointly with the YMCA to host a breakfast meeting event with 60 employers throughout the region, and ostensibly to talk about recruitment and retention efforts. And because of the issues around tariffs, there was a bit of discussion around that. It was a very well attended event and a lot of very good discussion, but it also, even in light of the threat of tariffs and the uncertainty around that, some of the issues are still very, very much front and center. Two in particular, one was housing, and the necessity of dealing with it. And two, issues around immigration and immigration settlement services and the help that they could use from all levels of government to help them recruit and retain staff. So I thought that was really worth saying. It was a really good job by the Y and with the Chamber and the BIA. It's so great to see that happen. So I just wanted to add that. All right, moving right along, 6.1.4, Huntsville Municipal Accommodation Tax Association, February 18th. Councillor Morrison, anything to add?
Just a couple of things. Val Hamilton, who we all know and love, she's runs Muskoka Tourism. She gave a great presentation. The neat thing was we had 1.3 million visits to the website, and of the top 50 requested business or visits that were done, 21 of them were Huntsville throughout all of Muskoka. So Huntsville's punching pretty high up above there and doing really well. You might notice in the minutes this mentions Eclipse Light Walk, and then it says Sandhill Nurseries next to that. The Eclipse Walk for Light will be relocated to Sandhill Nurseries. We had a competitive bidding process. We had a couple of bids. They won. So you can just imagine how great it's going to be when they get a hold of it. And so it's work in progress, but we're excited that we have a signed agreement with them. And the AGM is tomorrow, 2 o'clock at Canvas. If anybody's bored, they are serving beer. And we're going to have our AGM tomorrow if anyone wants to attend. That's it.
Thank you for that. And again, it's awesome the number of things that are going on in the community and the way the organizations are working together. I'm attending that AGM as well, for sure. Yeah, well, and there's that. Oh, yeah, there's that. Any questions around that? Okay, seeing none, and thank you all for the update. Moving right along to reports for adoption, I have a motion moved by Councillor Stone, seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that the General Committee meeting minutes dated February 26, 2025, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as printed and circulated. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Okay, and look at us just moving right along. Moving to the first report from reports from municipal officers, 7.1, from Kirsten Maxwell, report number development 2025-29, the heritage permit in the Purser's Cabin. I do have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Morrison. Whereas the town owns and maintains the Heritage Building, Purser's Cabin, located at Muskoka Heritage Place at 88 Brunel Road, and whereas all alterations to a designated heritage property must obtain a heritage permit prior to the start of any work. And whereas the windows in the Purser's Cabin building are deteriorating and proposed to be replaced with more appropriate materials. Now therefore be it resolved that Council approve the heritage permit application for the Purser's Cabin. Ms. Maxwell.
Thank you. It's a pretty straightforward report. The heritage permit is required to do any work to the structure whatsoever, which also includes replacing the windows. And so the windows that are proposed to be installed are more in keeping with the character of the building. And I circulated it to the Historical Society, and they had no objections to the heritage permit being issued.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any questions with respect to this? It's pretty straightforward. It's good it's happening. All right, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, Kirsten. So moving right along to bylaws and agreements for passage already, eh? Look at that, Bob. Look at that. Look at that. I have a motion moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Cluche. Be it resolved that bylaw numbers 2025 to 32 to 2025 to 36 inclusive be reported and passed this 24th day of March 2025. And the bylaws are up on the screen, and they are exactly as they were in our agenda package online, so I won't read them all. But as I said, they are inclusive from 32 to 36. Are there any questions with respect to any of these bylaws? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Okay. Moving to agenda item number 9 under new business. We are starting, and we've headed it, our USA tariff response. We have 3 items underneath this, starting with, we have been joined by Lauren McDermott, our Economic Development Officer, who is going to provide a verbal update for not only council, but hopefully people who may be watching, on what the Muskoka tariff response has been to date and our role in that. And there's a lot going on, and so I'll turn it over to you, Lauren. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And will the screen come down? Okay. So through you, Mayor Alcock. So the town of Huntsville is committed to supporting local businesses during this challenging time in response to the recent tariffs imposed by the United States on Canadian goods. In a united response, the District of Muskoka has collaborated with regional area municipalities and Chamber of Commerce's to establish a central hub for information and resources as they become available. So that's what you see on the screen here today. This is the Muskoka Tariff Information Hub, which serves as a single source for updates, links, and guidance to support businesses during this time. To access and share, please visit the Muskoka Tariff Information Hub as linked in the agenda, or visit engagemuskoka.ca. In addition, Mayor Alcock has proactively met with several of our local businesses to understand how it has impacted them, and I followed up with resources and contact information as the town's business liaison to ensure open communication. The Economic Development Department is also tracking business impact through these conversations and anecdotal information observed in Huntsville, as well as sharing this tracker with the Chamber, BIA, HMATA, YMCA, and Muskoka Futures to collaboratively record so as to minimize duplication and observe any trends. And if there's any businesses out there who would like to share and discuss impacts, my door is always open, and I encourage businesses to reach out to myself, Lauren McDermott, the Economic Development Officer at huntsville.ca, and to share how this is impacting your businesses so we may advocate on your behalf. And local business insights are invaluable in shaping our response and ensuring businesses continue to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that update. And I know that you're meeting, how often does the larger group meet? Is that something that is becoming more regularized or?
Yes, through you, Mayor Alcock, we, as the EDOs, regionally meet every other week. And then we're also, in addition, meeting for our workforce development project as well. So there's a lot of collaboration, discussion, and our chambers are very much entwined and working always together and collaborating. And this is just one way to make sure that instead of creating, 5 or 6 websites or web pages, we have it all in one spot. So as information comes through, businesses can just go there. And as it continues to come out, and as we know, situations changing every day. So we'll know what happens next week could be a completely different thing. And there is a survey on that webpage as well for businesses to complete if they feel like completing there. But for Huntsville businesses, please reach out. We're happy to come visit and chat and talk and record what you're seeing.
Great, thank you. And as I said earlier about the event that was held by the YMCA, Lauren was there, and we announced that she was there and handing out cards, and that there were at least 60 businesses there. So it's, I guess, to your point, it's constantly evolving, and we're trying to move with every new announcement. Questions at this point from anyone on council? Yes, Councillor Schumacher.
And that is both of our chambers, I assume, are at that table or included in that?
And if I believe I'm correct in this, I know that the district chair was very much involved in the very beginning and had reached out to all of the chambers. And I think at the time, it was the Lake Base Huntsville Chamber that was already, out the gate, trying to collect all of the information and then brought in the economic development. Yes, Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And more of a comment and also one question. But my comment is I'm just so pleased to see that we are obviously working together. And this is just such a great way to, like you said, it's like one-stop shopping. They can just go to one place, find out their information. My question to you, Lauren, is have you had a lot of businesses calling and questioning and asking for direction? Or is it just, have you had a lot of people calling?
Through you, Mayor Alcock. Actually not yet, but hey, after today, maybe I'll have a few more, and I'm happy to go and discuss. And Mayor Alcock actually was right out the gate talking to every manufacturing kind of business to kind of hear what we're seeing and hearing and expecting. But a lot of individuals right now and businesses, are waiting. And they're in that waiting game to see what it potentially could impact. And it might not necessarily be impacts right away, but it could be a long-term impact as well. But such as the tourism industry, they're aware of it, they're proactive. We have Muskoka Tourism part of that larger regional effort. So they're already, doing targeted kind of messaging and helping to guide that. So it's a really great collaborative effort. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. The one thing I've heard, and again, could talk to many more businesses, but our businesses are incredible, especially some of the larger manufacturers that you think might worry the most. And the word resilient is really appropriate in this case. Number of them said we've been through rough patches before, previous tariffs, other things, COVID. And so they know how to pivot. And Lauren's exactly right. They're also waiting, but they're working on their strategy already to develop other markets and do what they need to do. At least one of them is still planning to expand in the midst of all of this. So resilient, is to me the word that really best exemplifies them. All right. So any other questions for Lauren? I don't see any. Thanks again for coming and providing that update. So moving to our second item, I know that our council, we have received many, many letters and emails and phone calls about the U.S. flag in Flag Park. And so we've said that under this general topic of our tariff response here in Huntsville, that this would be an appropriate time to talk about council's view on, the request to lower the flag, the American flag in our flag park. And a lot of people referenced, we did that for the Russian flag, so why wouldn't we do it here? And so I think it's really important that we have a discussion around this. I am going to throw on the table one of the reasons that we have said many times is they are two different situations. When I was on council when the decision was made to lower the Russian flag. It is a lot easier to make a decision like that when there's a directive from a senior level of government or further internationally. Russia was actually kicked out of the G8. So it made it, that decision, which is very emotional, and there were lots of good reasons why we wanted to lower that flag. It made it a lot easier because they were no longer part of the G8. And that's not the case with the American flag. And, so at this point, it's not the case with the American flag. From my perspective, I understand the anger, the despair, the grief, all of the different feelings and emotions people are having around this. I get it. I'll be the first one to throw it out there, and hopefully everyone else will jump in. It's my view that I think it's important that we actually keep the flag up at G8 Park because I know everybody uses this particular line that was used by a former First Lady, and that was, when they go low, we go high. And at this point, our premier is constantly in the press saying, we don't dislike the American people. We really dislike what their leader is doing. And I know that there are a lot of people, I have family members in the U.S. We have friends in the U.S. We know that they're going through despair and anger and a lot of the same emotions that we are. And when we talk about the Americans that come up and visit our area, especially in the summer, for me, I feel like it's really important to show that I think it's important to be vocal when they come and talk to them. And we, as Canadians, will support local. We will shop local. We do, and our next item is very much in line with that. But it's just my view that, in fact, it's embracing the importance of what the G8 was all about, and that is countries that work together collaboratively, collectively, to work their problems out. That's the beauty of the G8 or the G7 forum. That's what we had here. That's why we were proud to have it here. Countries that work together. And so for me, I think the response of lowering it and removing it is not in the direction where I feel comfortable. So I am not in support of lowering the American flag in G8. Councillor Cloutier.
Through you, Mayor. obviously it's a sticky situation. It affects everybody in our country. You have to look at what a flag means to a country. A flag doesn't represent the government of the country. It represents the people of the country. So if you take that, you look at our flag personally, when somebody does something to your flag, how much it hurts us personally and all over the country. So if this situation was returned, we wouldn't want them to take our flag down. Like I said, the flag represents people, not the government. Their government's doing unethical things right now, but they haven't killed anybody yet. And I don't think it'll get to that. I hope not. But I mean, economically, I think in the long run, if people look back, patience is a virtue. And I think in the long run, what he's doing, this is my personal view, what he's doing is going to make us a stronger country. We are going to end up building our pipelines now. Don't be sufficient on them, become more self-sufficient. And I can see that happening in this country. So what he's doing is helping us in the future. It's going to be a lot of growing pains, but I think in the long run, it's going to work. But I say, take the flag down. I say no, because that flag represents American people, not the American government.
Thank you for that, Councillor Cloutier. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock. And one thing's very clear, I think, with what we're seeing unfold, and that's that Canadians and politicians from all levels of government are, deeply concerned with what we see happening. My biggest concern is that I think we're seeing a permanent shift in the way the U.S. deals with Canada, and a shift that could have long-lasting implications. I fully support reviewing our procurement policies and contracts. As a town, we should definitely not be sourcing or purchasing goods from the U.S. wherever possible. And to address the flag park, of course, there's been a lot of talk in our community about removing or lowering the U.S. flag from the park. I've had many calls, many emails. The issue I have with that is, and Mayor Alcock alluded to it, is that the park was created to remind us of an historic event that took place in Huntsville. The 2010 G8 was hosted in Huntsville, and the park, in my opinion, is a reflection of our town's history. I wasn't on council when decisions were made around the Russian flag, but I can tell you, I don't like the idea of altering historical displays in Huntsville, so that's where I would sit on it. One thing I would be open to having a conversation about, at least around the table, is the removal of U.S. flags from our arenas. I think that's something that could be considered. But only if we put the flags back when a U.S. team comes in to visit, and that'd be out of respect for that visiting team. I would be open to having that conversation, curious to see what the rest of council might feel about that.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Armour? Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I really don't have a whole lot more to say than what already been said. I know while you're on your deserved time off, I received quite a few emails from people, and I stayed true to what this council wanted, because I think it's important that we make the decision here, not one individual. So personally, I will support this council and the decision we make, and go forward. And if its choice is to leave the flag there, I agree with them 100%.
Thank you for that. And before I go to you, Councillor Renwick, you raise a very good point that, in fact, I do believe we have in our motion, do we? No, we don't. We are bringing a motion forward that currently the flag policy allows the mayor to make the unilateral decision. And that's going to be changed so that it's not a decision of the mayor, it's a decision of council, which it rightly should rest. So that will be coming forward, certainly. Thank you for raising that. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Mayor Alcock. I would also concur that I would not be in favor of removing the flag at the G8 Park. The reason I was not on council when they removed the Russian flag, but what the U.S. has done at this point is not what the Russians have done, right? if they're imposing tariffs on us, that is not illegal and it's not an aggression of war. It'll affect us economically, but at this point, I would not be in favor of removing the American flag. And to what Councillor Cluche said, I think it does represent the American people. And we don't have a beef with the American people. We have we have an issue with the administration and the government. And so to continue with that, I think I would be against removing it in our arena as well, because even though we have perhaps a hockey team that's American, we have so many tourists that come here and so many visitors and really great Americans that love Canada and respect us and realize that we are, brothers or sisters or whatever we are. We've helped them in so many ways. So I would be against removing any flags at this point, for sure.
Thank you for that, Councillor Renwick. Both of you just shot your hand up right away. It was like instant. I'm going to go to Councillor Schumacher, followed by you, Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yes, again, echoing, I would not do removal of the flag in Flag Park. I would not do removal in our arenas either. I walked the other day in the Summit Center, and it was actually still nice to see the American flag alongside the Canadian flag and alongside the fact that we have been neighbors and countries that have supported each other in the past. And I think that's reflective. We probably still have some snowbirds who are down there still, who went in October, November, and sometimes stay till the end of March or April. I would not want to affect their way home or friends that I went to high school with that now live down there, right? We have that intertwining, and as you have mentioned, Mayor Alcock, people who come to our community on a regular basis and still should feel welcomed to Huntsville, regardless of the fact that they are American citizens. We need to be a welcoming community, and I would not want to see us take that flag down. Granted, if he does go and invade Greenland, as he said, I will climb up that pole myself and take it down, although I did not do well in rope climb in gym class, so probably not. But yes, at that point, I think we need to discuss it. And if things change after our federal election and some big policy comes down, let's discuss it at that time. But for now, no, I'm not taking it down.
Also, very good points you raise, and we are talking about a moment in time, and hopefully it doesn't get to the next phase. But you're quite right. If he decides to move into Greenland, what a world. And we will revisit at that time for sure. No question. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Mayor Alcock, and through you, I share the opinions around the table. I definitely see where Councillor Clark is coming from, having a discussion about the smaller flag and trying to send a message. I know I have gotten a ton of emails and calls. I've talked to a ton of people. Believe it or not, I'm getting more people telling me not to touch the flag. Being on HMATA, talking to some business owners, they've had a rough go through COVID. They might have a rough go with the tariffs. Last thing we want to do is add another reason for someone not to come to town and spend money in their business. And I have a real hard time taking a flag down because we feel it sends a message and not thinking of the financial implications to these people. And not to mention at the arena, I have a friend who's out Highway 60 who's from Texas, comes up here all summer, and he loves it. He pays a significant amount of taxes. He helps to pay for that arena, and so does everybody else who's a property taxpayer in our town. Like, they're paying for our facilities. If I thought this message would ever get to Trump and Vance and the enablers down there, I'd say, let's do it. And when it first came about, I'm like, okay, we got to get that flag down. My initial thought was outrage. And, I've got people in my family who are deeply affected by this. But it's really, is it a race to the bottom for our moral values? They do this and then we do that and they do this. I want to speak more positively. Like we talked about the Colorado State Governor raising the Canadian flag for National Canada Friendship Day, talking about how grateful he is to all Canadians. That's how we get through this. And there's 40 million Canadians that are affected, and there's 280 or 90 or some odd million Americans affected by this. I think we need to band together with the good people and not throw away hundreds of years of a relationship that needs to stay strong. So as much as I think we can send a message, who's the message getting to? The people that love our town and want to spend money here? I don't think it makes sense.
Thank you for that. Councillor Stone. And
Thank you. So yeah, I knew this was coming today, so I talked to a couple dozen people today, and I had one person that was indifferent, and all the rest said, take it down. They would go on to tell me how angry they are, and I heard the fear in their voice about the future. But I agree with what Councillor Cloutier said, that the flag is a representation of the people, not its temporary leader. Much like at the hockey games lately, I don't agree with booing the American anthem. I think it's more appropriate to sit quietly and wait until the Canadian anthem comes on and then scream it loudly and proudly. We can be proud and honorable, and I don't think taking the flag down at this point, there could be things in the future that would precipitate that, but for now, I think we can be proud Canadians with just doing what we do.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stone. And finally, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship, and well done, everyone. Lots of valid points and heartfelt words. I think this is a time when we can be respectful of the good Americans. And Councillor Stone talked about booing the anthem. I think it's disrespectful and childish almost that we would do that. I would never do that. So I think there's a lot of good people that are caught up in a few people making poor decisions. And should we punish them for that or disrespect them for that? I don't think so. So I think we should leave it up.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Armour.
Just a quick note, if everybody remembers back in 2018 when Trump was first elected, he put tariffs on things. In 2022, he put tariffs on things. Did we take the flags down then? No. I don't know if it's the media that's doing it to us this time, that's pushing it, or what's so different, but anyhow, I really respect everybody around this table.
And I think you're absolutely right. We didn't back then, but as I recall, he actually wasn't talking about Canada as the 51st state then. And that's a very different part that I think makes everybody really angry. I know it makes me really angry. So, but I love what I heard around the table. I think we feel quite similar in the sense that, we're a welcoming community. And it's not for the Americans. We have a problem with the administration. And Councillor Schumacher.
Well, and I was just going to say, I think we're talking in March of 2025. And when you go back to March of 2020, there's a lot of people with PTSD out there when we talked COVID. And it became a huge divide in our country when that happened. And I think what's happening now, too, is a bit of a divide around a topic like this. And maybe instead of creating that divide, how do we work to bring us together and unite us stronger as opposed to encouraging and engaging in that divide? Because I think that, we did make it through COVID and we did become stronger. We'll make it through this and we will become stronger. But I think you do have a community of people who are going through some PTSD again, March of 5 years later, but it's a different aspect. It's just another dividing aspect.
Thank you for that. Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Mayor Alcock, and I just want to piggyback a little bit on what Councillor Schumacher was talking about. A lot of really good dialogue here tonight. I just want to take a minute and reflect on how opinions about the U.S. will be expressed in our community. I have a good friend who lived in Windsor for over 20 years, very close to the border, and he asked me to reflect on the COVID times that we went through not very long ago. And just like the problems we're facing now, COVID was a difficult time with many differing opinions, as we all remember. It was difficult in how we dealt with friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, and I see similarities between then and now with so many different strong opinions. I think it would be good for all of us in our community and ourselves to do a personal review of that time, what we did right, what we did wrong in our relationships. I have a short list of things I've been trying to learn from that time and apply to this difficult political time. Here's the list. Be humble and understand that I'm completely capable of being wrong. No matter how much information I have about something, there's probably more information I don't have. I don't have to share every opinion that I have. And most importantly, it's still possible to disagree and maintain healthy relationships. It's not just what we say, but it's how we say it that matters.
Yeah, that was great and very well said. Yeah. Thank you for that, Councillor Clark. I think it's a lovely way actually to cap this conversation. I think we're hearing what our position is, and it doesn't negate that at some point we may be revisiting for whatever reason. So thank you all for that, and that we will lead to the third element. Oh, which the for the the flag policy. Can we do it? So apparently the clerk said we can change the flag policy right now about with reference to who has the authority, and we could put it on the screen and get that over with if council's okay with that. That'd be great. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Stone. I have a motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Stone, whereas in accordance with the flag protocol policy, the mayor or his/her designate has discretion regarding flags from other countries displayed in municipal facilities. Now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to amend the flag protocol policy to require direction from council regarding the placement and/or removal of flags from countries or territories outside of Canada in municipal facilities. Questions or comments about that? Yes, Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. Would that be in or on municipal?
I think that's what you mean.
Is
When
it-
I hear
is it
municipal
in?
facilities, that includes parks,
Okay.
right? That is a way of, that's what we mean, right?
If I may, Mayor Alcock, there already is a line in the policy that states about Flag Park itself requires a motion of council. That's
Oh,
separate.
I didn't, so I thought that one, oh, right, so,
Yeah, separate.
okay, separate. So this across the board. All right. Okay, wasn't aware of that. Okay, yeah. All right, any other questions? Then I will call the question. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you for that. So now we are moving to the third prong of this discussion, and it's a very long motion. Maybe I can read it. It's an important one, so if everybody's okay. This is in reference to our procurement policy, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Renwick, whereas it is anticipated that U.S. tariffs will have devastating consequences for the Canadian economy, local jobs, and our community. And whereas the Premier, I think that's of Ontario has encouraged Ontario municipalities to restrict U.S.-based businesses from participating in municipal procurement, whereas the town of Huntsville remains dedicated to promoting a strong local economy and advocating for Canadian businesses and desire the procurement policy to reflect a Canada First approach. Now therefore be it resolved that procurement bylaw 2023-123 be amended as follows. A, to include the following in section 3, purchasing principles. Canadian preferred. The municipality shall give preference to goods and services that are manufactured, grown, or otherwise originate in Canada, wherever practical, and in accordance with applicable trade agreements and laws. This preference reflects the municipality's commitment to strengthening local economies, creating employment opportunities, and reducing environmental impacts associated with long-distance transportation of goods. Exceptions may apply where Canadian goods or services are unavailable, significantly more expensive, or fail to meet the municipality's required quality or performance. B, to include the following paragraphs in Section 8, discriminatory practices. The town must not discriminate among suppliers or goods or services on the basis of geographic location within Canada. The town must not adopt or maintain any forms of discrimination, including those based on the location of origin of goods, services, and construction materials, or the suppliers of such goods, services, or construction materials in their procurement practices within Canada. And C, finally, to include the following in Section 8, discriminatory procurement practices include, but are not limited to, the following: registration requirements and restrictions on calls for bids based upon the location of a supplier and its subcontractor or the place where the goods or services are produced, and generally, qualification procedures that discriminate between suppliers by Canadian province of origin. Further, that the amending bylaw be presented to council for consideration. Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you. Well, my comment is I would like to remove the piece where it says procurement policy to reflect a Canada First approach to be a Canada Preferred approach, only as we do have an election coming up, and that seems to be, I realize our treasurer probably came up with that slogan first, but it seems that the Conservatives have adopted it from her and stole it. So I don't want us to be seen as siding with one partisan party over another. Could we just change that to Canada Preferred approach instead of Canada First?
I think, in fact,
And all of it,
I
everything
agree.
in there is
So
Canada
I think
Preferred.
the other reference to it was already changed, the
Yes.
Canadian Preferred, right?
Yes,
So you're
correct.
saying, let's be consistent with the other paragraph.
Consistent with the other
I think we can do that.
Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Renwick. All in favor of the proposed wording?
Of the proposed wording change?
Wording change, thank you. It's
Yeah.
all in favor, carried. And all in favor of the main motion as amended.
Did we want to do one?
And that
No.
carries too. Thank you. I
That
didn't
was
actually
easy.
ask.
Did
if
we,
there was-
I was gonna say, we didn't even have
We
conversation
didn't have
about
a
it.
discussion. We just went straight to that. I should, oh man, I did it. I did that before too. I
Yeah.
know. Can I go back and ask if there's conversation? Nope. Was there a lot of, oh no, sorry guys. Can we talk about the past motion? Can I offer them or not? No, we don't want to reconsider. Do people have a burning? All right, I think you're all very supportive. How about that? Do you want to display it? Very supportive.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. My apologies. I got
I just-
sidetracked.
I
I got
sidetracked with
sidetracked
language with
Councillor
wording.
Schumacher and her
My
proposed wording change.
Yes.
All right. Everybody will forgive me for that little. Okay, good. Thank you.
We're all gonna vote yes anyway, so.
Yes, that's true. So thank you for that whole discussion around our tariff response.
Everybody just
And
wants to get home.
we are moving to item 9.2, which is with respect to the Muskoka Conservancy Brook Nature Reserve, and it's a repeal resolution. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Schumacher, whereas Muskoka Conservancy provided a deputation to council on September 23rd, 2024 regarding the proposed building and maintaining of trails on the Brook Nature Reserve. And whereas Muskoka Conservancy has now advised the town that they will not be proceeding with the proposal, now therefore be it resolved that Resolution 176-24 be rescinded. So we're really just fixing the previous motion. The part will, or the conservation area will stand as it currently does, and it has signage and people use it. And so it's basically saying we no longer will enter into an agreement with the town where we're doing town signage and creating town trails and that sort of thing. They want to basically leave it alone, as I understand it. So are there any questions around that? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. I was thinking for a moment I could see someone not in favor. That's interesting. All right, I'm all over the map. There we go. All right. Next motion, 9.3, amendments to resolution number 88-23, appointments to the BIA board. I have a motion moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Stone. Be it resolved that council approves the following amendment to resolution number 88-23, Downtown Huntsville BIA Board of Management appointments for the 2022-2026 term of council. Deletion of Tara Charlton. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Next motion I have a motion moved by Councillor Fitzgerald, seconded by Councillor Cluche. Be it resolved that the following amendment to the 2022-2026 Huntsville Public Library Board members adopted by Council Resolution 23 and amended by 87-23 be approved. Deletion, James Bowler. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. All right. So we are now moving to general information, starting with item 10.1, which is a physician recruitment update. And at this point, I think I'm flipping it over to Councillors Morrison and Stone for some exciting information. And Lauren, are you joining us for this, or you're being invited to join us? So why don't you come forward? Come on down. This is another exciting part of our meeting tonight. So, am I turning it over to you, Councillor Stone, first?
I just want to say we have some great news, and I will let Lauren explain what that great news is.
Okay, through you, Mayor Alcock. So the great news, as Councillor Stone mentioned, is we're making progress in bringing more family doctors to Huntsville with our 5th physician sign. So that brings us, we had, I think since I was last here, we had 3, so 2 more. And we launched this program in summer 2024, and we've already have 5. So that's fantastic news. And we're really excited to have those individuals on board. And we're in talks with more promising candidates and remain focused on filling the 5 remaining spots. And just again, to anyone who's out there watching and listening, if you know anyone who might be interested, please help spread the word. Huntsville.ca Doctors Wanted. So if you know anyone in med school or anyone who wants to relocate, please share that. And just a big thank you to all the community collaborators who have, provided incentives. We've have an amazing Algonquin Family Healthcare team, the executive director, Janine Vandenheuvel, and the Algonquin Family Healthcare team recruitment team led by Dr. Marr is fantastic. And we're really lucky to have these individuals on board who are doing so much behind the scenes. So yeah, and and also to Scott Morrison and Bob Stone as well for.
Then I think you were about to call them doctors. And doctors, I didn't know that happened, but Doctors Morrison and Stone.
Yeah.
That's 2 of the
Not-
5
did I say-
doctors. They signed on. So thank you for that update. That was great, and recognizing everybody. And I will also echo this trio here, yourself and Councillors Stone and Morrison again, for your continued efforts on all of this. We are really appreciative. So you're chomping at the bit, Councillor Stone. I'm going right back to you.
Just
Yeah.
very quickly, Lauren kind of skimmed over a little bit, but there are some good prospects waiting in the wings for some more to sign.
That's amazing. So it begs the next question, which is, how is this affecting our wait lists? Are we still, I know the last time you were able to say that you knew some people were coming off wait lists, which was very exciting.
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
The doctors that have signed so far have mostly taken over existing practices. Now, you need to understand that because they took over an existing practice, that entire practice didn't go onto the wait list. So we're holding the wait list to around 4,500 right now, still. There's lots, names keep coming on. My wife has the list and she complains all the time. But nonetheless, it's holding that number for now, and a couple more doctors. And if we can get one to set up a new practice, then we'll have some great advances with the wait list. But
I appreciate
where we
that.
are.
Thank you for that. Councillor Renwick. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just briefly, I just want to do a shout out too to that incredible video that was produced. And I think it really showcased a lot of the businesses in town that have really stepped up to help. So congratulations, and congratulations to the 3 of you for the work that you have done. But it's always great to see those videos that go up because it's such a promotional tool for other business to use. So I know that it'll be at the BIA as well. Just
Yeah, I agree. It's an excellent video. Very well done. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship, and I'd also like to say thanks to you three and the community for all the great support. Councillor Stone touched on the fact that there's still a bunch of people on the waiting list, and I think there's still some confusion. They think there's 5 new doctors and they're not getting phone calls, so maybe there's an opportunity for us to communicate that to the public in a greater manner, a more efficient manner, so they do understand that, yes, they're getting a call, but it's not going to be for a while until we sign some more doctors.
That's a good comment. Yeah. All right. Are there any? Yes, Councillor Morrison.
Just quickly want to give Lauren more credit because it was kind of this crazy idea we come up with, and we had full council support and a lot of help. But we put it on Lauren's desk, right? So we put it right on a busy person's desk already. The amount of hours she's put into this is insane. I know she loves it. So, I mean, that's great. It's exciting, but it's a ton of work. It's fun work. Lauren will text me, say, can you get me this? We get back together. She takes care of it. So it's huge. But I also want to point out, people are taking notice. I was at a doctor's appointment today for one of my kids. A student doctor came in. And I said, oh, you with NOSM? He said, yes. I said, so are you thinking about Huntsville? And he said, thinking about it. And I talked about the program. He said, oh, we're well aware of the program. So doctors know that we're doing this, and it's on their mind, and it's having the desired impact of what you guys gave us permission to go do. So far, so good.
Thank you for those comments as well. And I'm really glad that you did center Lauren out. Because of all of the work that she's been doing on this and such a good job as she moves over to the issue that we talked about earlier with the tariffs and dealing with all of the businesses in our community, that is also going to be an incredible amount of work. And she's sliding into that. I've already heard some comments back from the community as to her work in that. So thank you. Yeah. All right. I think thank you for doing that. All right. Thanks again, Laura. We're going to move to 10.2, which is council correspondence. We had a lot of it. I thought it worth noting that there are a number of other municipalities who are also passing bylaw amendments with respect to tariffs and their response in different ways. So kind of interesting. Were there any other questions around the correspondence? Okay, seeing none. We're going to move to the District of Muskoka update, starting with EPW. Deputy Mayor Armour, do you have an update from March 19th?
Thank you, Worship. We had a good meeting. We had a delegation from Muskoka Marathon. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. Runs through from Sandus Village. So they want to expand to more runners and build it. So they're looking for more road closures. We had a review of our drinking water management system and how well we're doing. Solid Waste Master Plan Phase 1 report. We awarded the contract for Phase 2 and Phase 3, and that was $567,000. Verbal update on Clean Muskoka Together events. That's the Earth Day. The Clear Bag Program, early results. We're apparently doing great, and I believe it was Muskoka Lakes had 100% clear bags last week, so I think we need to catch that one. But only half the residents are there, right? The rest are vacations. The transportation, we talked a lot about the school zones, and that brought up, we changed the bylaw specifically for the one in Port Sydney, the new new school on Muskoka 10, and a couple of amendments to the roads budget, but that was about it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes, Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to Deputy Mayor Armour. The Earth Day, is that a specific cleanup day that the district is planning? Like, are they going to do some activities on that day?
Actually, it goes on for a long period, but it's where they get groups to go out and clean up the garbage along roads and streets like that. So it's just not one specific day. It will be like for a month-long program.
Right. I guess my follow-up, if I may, Your Worship, would just, if I'm sure that the town of Huntsville will be doing something as well during that time.
Yeah, hopefully. We haven't discussed it yet, but we will be. CAO Corey?
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have had that discussion with staff, and we are planning something that we probably will spread it out over the week just to allow events to happen and for staff to participate. But we do have something planned, and if you need extra information, you can follow up with the director, I think, of Community Services is handling it, so she'd be happy to follow up with you after. Yeah.
Okay, and thank you for the question. Okay. Councillor Schumacher.
Well, just in reference to that, I think it's great that it's extended because the provincial day of action on litter is actually the second Tuesday in May. So it does extend from like Earth Day in end of April, and then you've got the action on litter day into May. So it would be good that it's sort of that bigger period.
I just thought it was pretty exciting getting the statistics on the response around the clear bags. It was really quite phenomenal. And it continues to be, right? The number of people asking for the green bins has grown exponentially, and it's doing all the things it's supposed to do, which is really nice to see. Deputy Mayor Armour?
Yeah, it's nice just to see people responding positively to it after all the negativity we had at the beginning. And it's making a difference in how much actually going into our landfill site, and it's going where it should go. So keep up the great work, everybody. And yeah, kudos.
Councillor Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Worship. I was impressed by the numbers of our first week, and I've noticed at home, I thought I was pretty good at streaming my stuff. I don't have half as much garbage anymore because I've discussed it with the whole household, and now there's 3 of us making an effort instead of just one of us making an effort. So if everyone's doing the same thing, we're only going to benefit. So I think it's great.
Thank you for that. It's funny how often I've heard the same comment in other households. Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this may be a little bit off topic, but it kind of is. There is a question, however, about we are allowed 2 small bags of personal garbage, but apparently that has to be in a clear plastic bag. You cannot put 2 small bags in your garbage pail. And
I
It
thought
has
it
to
was
be-
it's an opaque bag.
well, it's
a-
clear. It's a clear bag. I mean,
but
the
it-
bag itself that the private material is in is a white bag.
Okay.
But then it has to go. Those 2 little white bags have to go into a clear plastic bag. You
Right.
cannot put
That-
them into your garbage can. Which, if we're saving the environment and not using a lot of plastic, why could I not put it in a garbage can, the 2 small bags, and have them take it from there, as opposed to having to put it into a clear plastic bag? So we got a note.
Yeah, no, okay.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Armour, do you want to speak to that?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that. I just know as they were bringing it forward, it was that you got up to 2. That was for personal stuff that wouldn't, so nobody else would check their garbage out. But I think that's the reason they don't want people probably, I can only speculate, they just don't want people just throwing 2 small bags in there that don't contain the right items, I guess. But that's a good question. I could probably bring it forward and find out from
Yeah,
the commissioner.
it happened at our house, but it also happened in another house. But the question, because it was personal garbage, it was not like it wasn't recycling, it wasn't anything. It was just personal things that you don't want everyone to see. But they weren't in a clear plastic bag. They were in a garbage can, and they put a sticker on it saying this was not in the right container. So, well,
Okay.
are we going to use more plastic? Like, no.
No,
So
it's a
that's-
good question.
Okay, we could maybe find that out.
They can go in the clear plastic bag with the rest of your garbage.
Right, and so that's what I was
Not-
thinking. Why wouldn't
yeah,
you
so
just
you don't
put
need
the
a separate
personal?
I
clear
didn't
bag
have
for it.
any other garbage. Everything else was recycling. All I
Oh, so
had, all we
that's-
had was personal, those 2 little white bags. That was all the garbage we had. And maybe they didn't believe that, but that's true. They can look at it.
And that's probably
Maybe
it.
that's
They
what it is.
probably didn't believe it.
It was tiny.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's a good comp. So you didn't have any other garbage. Look at you. That's a great question. We should follow up, I guess. Yeah, for sure. All right. Look at it's constant. It's constant progress, we will get through this. And it's an interesting question. All right, I don't see any other questions around that. Great report, thank you. I'm going to move to Councillor Morrison with FCS Committee.
Nothing nearly as exciting as Deputy Mayor Armour's EPW stuff. Just some variance reports, and the unbelievable Mailty group that we have is renaming another road in the Chippewa region, Road Muskoka District 12, similar to what we did with Ganyingahaga Lohadoje last year, I believe, which is Fort Muskoka 48. And so it's coming down the pipeline. We gave permission to go ahead and do it. So
That's great.
no, it
You
was hammered into us at the
practiced-
district.
You
a while
practiced
ago.
that.
No, I haven't said it in a while.
You-
It's
that-
Tina
he
made us
worked
learn it.
with you. That's excellent. Wow. Are there any questions of Councillor Morrison? All right, thank you for that report. Moving to Councillor Stone with respect to HSC Health Committee.
We had a presentation on the creation of a Gravenhurst Health Hub, looking for $200,000 from the district toward its creation. The committee questioned its ability to attract doctors and its sustainability in the long term. We had a presentation from Hospice Muskoka, also looking for funding, saying that they could help with the ALC, the alternative level of care issues that we have. We got an update on the new Fairburn construction, and we are on track to open spring of 2026. The paramedics are participating in a trial regarding pediatric cardiac arrest using epinephrine. And so we, along with, I think, 16 other paramedic units, are doing this trial, and we approved the purchase of a new paramedic response unit.
Thank you for that. Are there questions of Councillor Stone? Okay, thanks for the report. I have just a quick report at District Council. Really, the one item that was of great interest probably to many members in our community was a report that was pulled from the Finance and Corporate Services set of minutes dealing with the remuneration of District Council and the District Chair. There was a heated discussion for quite some time. I don't know how long it went on, resulting in a recorded vote. This is the item that resulted in a 48% increase for remuneration over 4 years for councillors and the district chair. As I said, Councillor Stone actually asked for a recorded vote, and it was actually much closer than I thought. Huntsville, all of the Huntsville representatives at the table voted against the increase, and alongside of most of the representatives from the town of Gravenhurst, with the exception of one, but the vote was 13-9 at the end and 13 in favor. So that's what happened there, and that was, as I said, the most exciting item at District Council. At Community and Planning Services Committee, fairly long agenda, but committee approved the revamping of the Planning Act application notice sign standards and procedures. You know, the signs that are posted at a proposed development site. Right now, they're little wee 8 by 12 sheets that are attached to trees or telephone poles or whatever, and now they're going to be much larger onto posts, and they will show what the development looks like. And they are encouraging the lower tiers to follow suit. There was a report on terms of reference that was prepared in support of technical supporting studies that we ask of applications when they come forward with proposed development projects. And the terms of reference have been prepared specifically for environmental impact studies. So what they will do is, in a pre-consultation meeting with a proposed developer or with a development, they will sit down, go through the terms of reference and outline, here are all of the things that you need to do in preparation for this development application. And if the applicant says, yes, I agree, we're going to do all of this, then they will not be required to do a peer review. And that was a big, big item for our development community. Council passed this, and there was a question as to whether or not the development community had been consulted on this proposed approach beyond they knew it was coming, they're excited it was coming, but they actually hadn't had the opportunity to look at the proposed terms of reference. So there might still be some bugs in the system, but we'll see. It could result in a faster process. It might. The other thing that we also approved was staff are now going forward with implementing the updated growth strategy, which means they're including it in the district official plan, and they will be working with the lower tier municipalities to have lower tier municipalities update their own OPs to show where intensification will be included in their plans going forward. What the important part of this means, especially for the town of Huntsville, is the link to capacity approvals. So what the district will likely require in supporting development applications in the town of Huntsville is where that development is, they will want to see a secondary plan for that entire area and see where this development fits in that secondary plan. If we have the secondary plan, then it will be a lot easier for that developer to get approval for the capacity that's required. So it's an important step, but what it has done for the town of Huntsville is we are now proceeding very quickly with the development of our secondary plan in the Haynes Earls Road area because we will need it. So that was kind of a significant thing. We also supported the next step in the Integrated Watershed Management Plan, which is developing a staff working group with all of the 13 lower tier municipalities and 2 upper tier municipalities and 5 First Nations to work together on how to move the Integrated Watershed Management Planning process forward. So, and finally, we approved, when council approved the new development charges policy, we agreed to set up a pilot program for first-time homeowners, giving them a grant in the amount of what they would have paid for development charges for that first-time home. And so staff have prepared that policy and we approved it. So that's being worked on and should be in place in the next, in the fullness of time. How about that? But a big step forward on that. So that's what happened at CAPS. Is there anything else? Any questions? Okay. Yes, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Worship. So the district portion of development.
The district portion of development charges, yes, which is larger than the lower tier.
And are we going to try and address that and do that as well? Or
Well, it's a really good question. We actually can discuss that when we discuss our housing policy review on Wednesday.
Perfect.
Right? I think that's a very good question. And remember to raise that on Wednesday. Yeah. Councillor Stone.
And did the grant apply to a house for first-time home buyers of a certain price or any price?
There's a cap, and I think it was up to 750,000. I think
Excellent,
that
thanks.
was it. It was higher than normal. They used our existing program, which is for under Gateway, and about a year ago we raised the threshold of the potential cost. I may be wrong in that number, but yes, there is a cap in there, and it's higher than it used to be. Right. Great question, though. Okay, I think that was it. And I also have on here, I do not have an update on the new OPP Police Services Board because our next meeting is April 9th. So I will have an update at the end of April on that. Okay, so moving right along to events and updates. We on Saturday, April 26th at 10 a.m. at the Salvation Army Community Church, the Huntsville Horticultural Society is celebrating 100 years birthday celebration. That's pretty exciting. So that was important to state. And before I go to the members of council, our fire chief has an update with respect to our freshet, which we've been meeting actually almost daily for the last week, looking at what's happening there. So I'm turning it over to Chief Monahan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so as most of you know, March 19, we had significant rain. So the emergency control group, the primary group, met on the think the first meeting we had was on the 18th. So we were monitoring the water. The discharge got to, I mean, it's a number that not too many people are going to really care about, but got to 106, which we know is going to cause a little bit of water to spill over the banks and a little bit of spillage in the River Cove area. So we did get a little bit of flooding in River Cove. We did not get flooding on the Old North Road. It did not get to that point. But what's happened is obviously, as you can tell, downtown, it's about an inch from going over the docks, but we're hoping that this cool weather and hopefully that this water will get through the system before we get our next warm spell and rainstorm. But from my understanding, we've got some cold weather. So we're in good shape this year, I think. But it appears that Port Sydney got a lot. They've opened up the dams, it looks like, but no, there's no damage down there, but just a lot of water. So we're in good shape.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions of Chief Monahan? Really appreciate the update. And
Okay.
we continue to cross our
Cross your
fingers. So
fingers.
far, so
Yes.
it's been reasonable. So that's great. And thank you for keeping us posted. All right. That was that. Are there any other events or updates that council, anybody? Okay, seeing none. We do have a flag raising, the Ontario Autism World Autism Day. It's Wednesday, April 2nd at 1 p.m. in Civic Square. And so anybody who wants to join, some of us will be there. Other than that, that's the only flag raising that we have. And with that, we are going to move to closed. Would people like a 10-minute break before we move to closed? All right, let's move to a 10-minute break. Okay, thank you. I have, we are now back, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Schumacher. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public, commencing now at 7 p.m. for the purpose of considering the following matters under Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001. Subsection E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client, including communications necessary for the purpose. 11.2.1, confidential report development 2025-30 OLT, case number OLT-21-001611-32 King Crescent. And C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. 11.3.1, verbal update on confidential report Corp-2024-62 regarding a land acquisition. Okay, questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. So we're back, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Schumacher, seconded by Councillor Renwick. Be it resolved that confirmation bylaw 2025-37 be received and passed this 24th day of March 2025. All those in favor? And that carries. And finally, I have a motion moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Clark. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 7:43 p.m. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, everybody.